Welcome to the BrainTap podcast, here to help you relax, reboot, and strengthen your overworked brain. Your host, Dr. Patrick Porter, is the developer of the BrainTap Pro mobile app, designed to help you sleep better, lose weight, de-stress, or kick a bad habit, all while increasing energy, focus, peak performance, and more. Take the free BrainTap Pro challenge. Simply register at braintap.pro. That's braintap.pro. On the BrainTap podcast, Dr. Porter brings together a team of experts to share up-to-the-minute news in neuroscience, brain training technology, along with how mindfulness and meditation can be used to improve your life in ways you never imagined possible. And now, here's your host, Dr. Patrick Porter.
Welcome back to BrainTap Radio, and today we have a very special guest, someone who's done a lot out there in the media. It was very interesting going on YouTube and searching her out on the internet, but I want to welcome Dr. Kathy Gruver. So why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself and what it was like growing up, Dr. Kathy?
Yeah, absolutely. Thanks for having me, first of all. So I grew up in Pittsburgh, and it was great that you said Virginia Beach, because that was our vacation every summer. We would get in the car and head down to Virginia Beach. My dad was stationed there when he was in Vietnam, so that was a very special place. So I got very excited when you said Virginia Beach. So I'm an East Coast girl. I'm in California now. I actually was an actor, and my life took an interesting turn when I realized I had this penchant and this interest in the healing arts as well as the theater arts. I apprenticed with a woman when I was a senior in high school, moving into college to learn massage. And that was something that stuck with me all this time. So it went from massage to herbs and homeopathics to hypnosis to Reiki and writing books and studying at Harvard. And I tell people I simply followed the breadcrumbs. And I just said yes to opportunities that came up because I am endlessly curious. And to me, the more I know, the more I can help other people. So I have this acting background, which helps with the media stuff, and this healing background, which helps once I'm in front of everybody. So yeah, it's been an interesting journey.
That's great. Well, tell us a little bit about when you got to California. Did you start acting in Pittsburgh, or was it in California when you started that part of your career?
Yeah, I started acting in Pittsburgh. I got on stage for the first time in 5th grade, and I swore I would never step off. And I guess I kind of haven't, because now I'm doing, motivation. I joked with someone. I said, now I'm still on stage. I'm just in a different outfit with a different accent. But it's the same. To me, it's entertainment. I love doing that. So yeah, I started acting when I was just a little kid. I started dancing when I was old enough to have shoes put on my feet. And so that performance background has really been a giant part of my life. And my mom passed away when I was 18. She had cancer. And I think that's not the exact thing that propelled me into the healing work, but it certainly contributes. You can't live through that and watch that go on without that affecting you in some way. So I think that definitely contributed to my interest in finding alternatives for people.
So tell us how, coming from there, an actor and actress usually don't hear that also put in the same sentence with Harvard, because you're usually thinking more analytical, logical thinkers. I know they do have creative areas there, but tell me how that connection happened.
Yeah, when I was working on my dissertation, I was doing my dissertation on mind-body medicine, and thank God for the Google, because I was finding so many studies and so much information, and found this class at Harvard, this week-long course with like the rock stars of mind-body medicine. And I kind of went into my husband's office and I said, there's this class at Harvard I want to take. And he goes, oh, good, you should take it. I said, but it's at Harvard. He said, yeah, you should take it. I said, it's really expensive. He said, it's a tax write-off. Go take the class. I said, yeah, but it's mainly for physicians. And he looked at me and he said, 1, when have you ever been intimidated by physicians? 2, you clearly want to take it, but 3, you sound to be talking yourself out of it. So Miss Mind Body, go to Harvard. So I signed up for the course and went, and I've studied with them 4 or 5 times now. I go back at least once every 2 years to do their courses. Oh my God, it's my favorite thing.
I know that you're doing a lot with mind, body, and that, and there's a lot of your videos talk about stress, and you just finished a project with the military. So tell us a little bit about that, how you created it, what got you into that part of the business, if you will, and what our listeners can learn from that experience.
Yeah, I took components that I was already familiar with, so I really pulled a lot from my dissertation and a lot from what I learned at Harvard, and I put a 5-fold program together, and it consisted of breath work, which that's the basis of every relaxation program, whether it's yoga or Tai Chi or Qigong or meditation or even martial arts. That is that anchoring into the present moment. So I started with the breath. And then I added techniques onto that. I talked about a mini meditation as opposed to formal seated meditation, which a lot of people can't do. They don't want to. It's too hard. It's time consuming, frankly. Also, I did put in mindfulness practice, and then I also added affirmations and visualization because I wanted a combination of things that could be done in that moment of stress. If you're on the battlefield, you don't have time to plop down and do a formal seated meditation. So I was trying to make it flexible enough that it was something they could do in the moment, but also practices they could build on over time, so that if you're sitting in the barracks, you might want to do a formal seated meditation. So I tried to pull variety from it. We made it as far as the second round, and then they said, no, thank you. So we didn't get to create it, but now that's the program I teach everyone. And I do a lot of work with first responders, really high stress individuals like attorneys and doctors, teachers, nurses, kind of us all.
That's great. Well, tell us a little bit about your book, first of all, and then how you kind of parlayed that into a TV series called The Alternative Medicine Cabinet. So tell us a little bit about how those two things happen.
Yeah, I started wanting to do more speaking, which seemed to me the logical next step because I knew all this stuff and I liked being in front of people. So when I heard that there was this actual thing you got paid for called motivational speaking, I went, yes, I'm up for that. And I was talking to someone who was a speaking professional, and they said, well, what's the title of your book? I said, I said, what do you mean, what's the title of my book? And they said, well, you have a book. And I said, no. And they said, oh, you need to have a book. And I thought, crap, because I didn't really want to write, like it wasn't in my list of things to do. But when she told me that, I went, okay, I guess I'm going to write a book. And so I really struggled over what to write. And I realized that I had already gathered so much knowledge in the form of articles I had written for newspapers and magazines, projects I had to do for school, handouts that I had given to clients. And I realized, there's my book. And the reason I called it the Alternative Medicine Cabinet is you open the medicine cabinet and there's a slew of things you can choose from. That's how this book is. So it's set up in really short chapters, and each chapter is sort of a standalone little modality. And so that was my plan, was to make this a comprehensive book that anybody of any level of learning could pick up and understand. And I had the privilege of being on Lifetime television talking about the book. It was huge. So exciting. And I got back from that, and an old actor friend of mine said, oh, Kathy, do you know what you should do? You should have your own TV series, and you should call it the Alternative Medicine Cabinet, and you can host it. And I said, what do you think my plan is? And so I pitched it around, and finally through connection, I ended up sitting in this producer's office, and he loved the book, and he loved my idea for the show, and we filmed the entire first season. And then there was reorganization in the network, and it's still sitting in post-production. So it's not on the air yet, which is driving me crazy. But it's my my lesson in patience and that letting go thing, because I can't control that. I did my part of it, and now I have to wait. And isn't life so much like that?
Yeah.
So it's been, and as a triple Capricorn, type A, anal retentive, control-free Capricorn only child, I want it now, and I can't get it now, so I have to wait.
Well, I know you have a YouTube channel because I've checked out quite a few of your videos there, and some of our listeners want to learn more. They can't see the TV show, but they can certainly see you presenting and giving your tips there. So tell us a little bit about your website and what people can learn there.
Yeah, absolutely. I have tons of videos on YouTube. I'm a trapeze artist, so I have a lot of trapeze videos up there too, which are kind of fun. So it's youtube.com/Dr. Kathy Gruver, just Dr. Kathy Gruver. And then my website is kathygruver.com. I also have thealternativemedicinecabinet.com, and that's a great resource for lay people. There's a lot of past articles, a lot of links to shows that I'll put this up, of course, and lots of free resources of things that I've found that can really help you in your search for health. And all of my books are available there on both sites, actually. So yeah, I've got tons of resources there, and I'd love to hear from you if you've got questions or concerns or need any help.
That's great. Now, tell me a little bit, if we had a time machine here and we could put Dr. Kathy in it, send you back in time with what you know today, what would you most tell yourself, or what would you like to know back then that you know now that could help accelerate your journey?
Yeah, boy, just relaxing. I was a really high stress kid, and I was bullied a lot. And so I think you, when you're that age, you feel like you're never going to move past that age. Like you feel like you're stuck there forever and that you're forever going to be bullied and forever no one's going to like you, or you have this perception that no one likes you. And when I tell people now, oh, I was horribly bullied and I didn't have any friends, they go, really? Because people like me now, which feels great. But I think I would go back to that teenage self and go, it's okay. It's not going to be like this forever. Just be who you are and relax and stop pressuring yourself so much. I think I was probably an anxious kid, always worried about what was coming next. I'm still like that as an adult a little bit.
Mhm.
So I'd like to calm that kid down a little bit, tell them that things change. That's the one constant is change. So to relax into it and just go for it. My motto has always been go for it. So that I want to keep going.
Well, tell me a little bit about what do you like most about the work that you're doing?
Yeah, oh man. It's the same thing whether I'm in my office one-on-one or whether I'm standing in front of 500 people. I love imparting knowledge, and I love letting people know that they have choices, whether it's a choice in a different health modality, a choice in a different meditation, a choice in changing how they think and respond to things. And there's nothing better than someone getting off my massage table and saying, oh my God, I feel so much better, or coming out of a hypnosis session and we resolve that issue they came for, or looking out into the audience and just seeing people like looking and nodding and really getting what I'm saying. And I've gotten the most amazing feedback, and that's one of the advantages of my job is I get pretty much immediate feedback from what I do. That feedback that I made a difference in people's lives, or that I made them laugh, because to me that's making a difference too. And sometimes the healing is in that laughter. So to me, it's that helping people, helping them be better.
That's great. Now, what do you see as the most common problem in your practice that you seem to help people with, or they're drawn to you to get your therapy?
Well, I definitely think it's the stress thing, and whether it's massage, which of course all that muscle pain is exacerbated by stress, and the hypnosis where a lot of what people are coming for is stress related, whether it's an anxiety, a fear, a phobia. There's this fear and this stress that gets wrapped into it. And I think I came up with a theory this morning. When you're a little kid, your parent says, don't touch the stove, it's hot. Well, what's the first thing the kid does? They kind of reach out and touch it to see, and then they go, oh, you're right, that is hot. And I think over time of being told that these things are dangerous, even when we rebel against it, it's proven to be true. So I think now as adults, when we want to do something and somebody says, oh, you can't do that, or that's not going to work, or that should be scary, or, I think we revert back to that little kid of, oh, no, you're right, I better not touch the stove because what if it is really hot? And I think that's kept so many of us frozen, because we listen to this input of people around us and we're afraid to take that next step, even if it could be really, really good for us. So I think there's this fear, I think there's this influence from other people, and that's huge. That outside influence keeping us stuck is gigantic.
I know a sense of purpose and mission drives a lot of people in this industry of natural medicine. So what do you think is the most important for you in this scope of practice and care for people? What is your, when you get up in the morning, what drives you, and what do you think is most important about this natural medicine?
Again, it goes back to the letting people know they have choices. I've done a lot of myth debunking about what natural health and alternative medicine is. I think there's a lot of still very bad misconceptions. And on the flip side, that there is a lot of stuff that's frankly crap. I mean, there is a lot of stuff that is going to take your money and not give you anything. So it's a matter of distilling, sifting through that panning of the gold and finding those nuggets of truth and those nuggets of things that will help that individual, and throwing away that stuff that really is a scam. But in order to have health freedom in this country, unfortunately, even those things that are maybe so fringe they're not actually doing something, we kind of have to let them be there, or else where do we draw that line? There's a big argument right now going on about homeopathics. I'm a huge fan of homeopathics. I think they're great, but there's a huge faction of people that think they're BS. So who wins on that? I want access to the medicines that I want access to, and they don't think I should. And it's a slippery slope. It's a tough line to draw. So I think one of the things that I wake up every day to do is educate people. Again, let them know they have other choices, and really dispel some of those myths and encourage people to try something new and get out of their comfort zone.
Right. Can you share with us a product or a technique or a service that you think our listeners need to know about that maybe they don't, or maybe just to kind of accentuate what's out there and what they should go be seeking?
Yeah, I want to touch on two just real quick if I could, since I just brought up
Mhm.
homeopathics. I think one of the reasons people don't think homeopathics work is they're not using them right. If you go to a trained homeopathic physician, it's a very specific system of medicine. And I think the downside of walking into your local drugstore or your local health food stores, you see all these little vials with one word on it like PMS or headache or anxiety, and you take that vial and it's a combination of different things, and you take that and you expect it to act like an Advil, where, what do you mean I still have a headache? It doesn't work that way. It has to be a really specific medication for your really specific issue, and you need to know what you're doing to make those work.
Mhm.
The other thing is they're not dangerous. There's never been one reported case of somebody getting sick or dying from taking a homeopathic. So I think they should still be around, but we're not using them right. So that's just to say that. Uh, but the other thing that has a huge misconception is hypnosis. I do a lot of hypnosis. I love it. It is a fabulous modality. You are not going to lose control. You're not going to spill all your secrets. You're not going to give your PIN number to your ATM card. You're not going to go out and, assault an official. It's not like that. You're not unconscious. And people have seen either movies, and Get Out is a great example. You can't do that to someone in hypnosis. It's not how it works. Or they've seen a stage show where they think they're going to run around and look stupid and cluck like a chicken. You're not going to do anything under hypnosis that you wouldn't do fully awake and aware. Uh, you are not sound asleep. You will hear what the therapist is saying, which is funny because I've had some people come out of state and they open their eyes and they go, "It didn't work." And I say, "Oh, really? Why?" "I could hear you." I'm like, "I know.
Mhm.
I didn't drug you. You will hear what I'm telling you. What the suggestions I'm giving." And it's great for so many different things. And everyone can be hypnotized. You have to do it different ways. Some people are more prone to going deeper than others. Those people are the ones that get selected to go up on stage. But it's a great modality, and I really encourage you to find a trained hypnotherapist or trained hypnotist and look into that if you have issues with anxiety, sleep, smoking, pain. I do a lot of work with pre and post op. Hypnosis is amazing for helping with surgical procedures. So there's a couple of my ones I like to share because there's a lot of myths about those.
In using hypnosis or other modalities, do you feel that it helps with reducing or eliminating the stress people have and the thought of change? And tell me a little bit about what do you think the percentage is of stress that causes these problems that drive people to your practice?
Yeah, well, right now, just the statistic is 60 to 80, some say 90% of our doctor's visits are from stress related illness. Because stress, one way or another, is, and I can't necessarily say causing it, though there is a direct connection between certain diseases and stress, but it's exacerbating it. It's making it worse. If we're having pain, the pain is worse when we're stressed. If we're having an autoimmune condition, that's worse when we're stressed. So I think there's a huge connection. And a lot of it is that anticipatory stress, that freaking yourself out before the surgery, freaking yourself out before the tax bills announced, freaking yourself out before, we're really good at projecting into the future. And when we do that, we tend to tell a negative story. And I would love to see us all change that story, because we're here in the now. We don't know what's going to happen in the future. And if you watch my TEDx, you'll know I talk about that a lot, of being in this present and not thinking about those what ifs, because usually they don't happen. And if they do, we can't stop it or control it. So let's go into it the healthiest way we can. So I think that's one of the ways these modalities help, is it really brings you back to the present and anchors you in this moment here where there is no stress.
Right. Can you tell us a little bit about a client without mentioning their name, but just about an experience so our listeners can kind of understand a little bit about what might happen during a session and maybe how you help them, and just kind of a story of a successful client that you've worked with?
Yeah, I had a client who, oh, there's so many. There's a massage one that I actually want to tell, because this really brings that body mind connection in. She was having what she thought was carpal tunnel syndrome, and this was right when I started my practice. And she had been to the doctor and she got a diagnosis that was not carpal tunnel. He said, "There's nothing wrong with your wrist, and a little bit of tendonitis, you'll be fine." But the pain wasn't going away, and she was really great at. Um, she was icing, and she changed her workstation, and she was stretching, and she was doing the ergonomics, and she was taking her anti-inflammatories, and nothing was helping. And I was doing massage on her, and the massage would last maybe a day or two, and then the pain would slowly eke back in. And it was driving me crazy, because I was at that point in my practice forgetting to I thought I had to take responsibility for the healing of these people, not realizing it's not my job. I can just facilitate this. And at one point, I was massaging her forearm, and I said, tell me again when this hurts you. Because it was driving, I thought, am I missing a little muscle or what's happening? And she said, well, it hurts when I grip things, when I grasp things, like if I try to lift a gallon of milk, or if I try to lift a wine glass, or if I try to blow dry my hair. And I thought about it for a second. I heard the words, grab, grasp, grip. And I stopped massaging her, and I looked at her, and I said, is there something you're gripping too tightly? Is there something that you need to let go? And I opened up my hand, and her eyes popped open, and she looked at me and she said, I don't want to let my kids go. And I thought, wait, what? I mean, like, I didn't expect her to have an answer at all, let alone one that was so profound. And it turns out that when she was a kid, her brother had just gotten his driver's license, headed out with the family car, and never came home. He was killed by a drunk driver at 16. And it devastated the family. And now her kids were 15 and a half and 14 and a half, and she was terrified that this was going to repeat itself, and she didn't want to let her kids go. And I asked her if she had ever told them that story, and she hadn't, and I encouraged her to share all that, and if for no other reason, it would help them to understand why mom got so crazy when they wanted to go out. It kind of explained her neuroses a little bit with her holding them very tightly. So she went back and she told them the story, and she kind of came to terms with that. And I realized that the massage was lasting longer. It was now lasting 4 or 5 days and not 1 or 2. And then she said, can we try doing every 2 weeks instead of every 1? I said, yeah. And then it was every 3 weeks, and then it was once a month, and then I never saw her again. And I really believe, and I don't have a double-blind placebo-controlled study to say this, but I believe had she not fixed the mind part of that mind-body thing, I don't know that she would have fully healed, or it would have taken longer. Now, she still had to do the Advil and the ice and the stretching but it was that last little bit of that mind part that I think really made the difference for her. And I was happy to facilitate that. And that was really the first example where I went, hey, there's something to this mind-body thing. Let's explore that further.
Right. Would you say that the mind is like the software and the body's kind of the hardware, the hard drive that stores that information? And a lot of people call this psychosomatic, right? There's something in the mind that manifests in the body, and you were able to release that trigger.
Yeah. Yeah. And to me, even if it's 10%, like, why would you not release that stress to help that heal quicker? And I've seen that with surgery. I've had clients who, I did hypnosis for a client who was having massive open heart surgery, and she recovered twice as fast as everybody thought she would. She was less time in the ICU, less time on the pain meds, less time in the hospital, less because of the hypnosis work and the mind-body stress work that we did. It was huge. It was huge. And think of the cost savings too, and the medication that she didn't need because she took extra steps to help herself heal quicker.
Yeah, well, we find that to be true with our BrainTap program, because we're in several hospitals and they use our pre and post surgery protocols. So, I mean, when the body's relaxed, it can heal. When it's stressed, it can't. There's no blood flow, no circulation, no nutrients. So we need to get rid of those things. So what do you think the biggest challenge is that you're facing right now in practice or in the world that you'd like to share with our listeners?
I think we've moved into a place of global stress, before it was, you might be stressed about your job, or you might be stressed at some family dynamic, or maybe your neighborhood was having an issue. But now with social media and this 24-hour news cycle, we're finding out things that are happening across the globe so quick, and it's in our face in such a gross way. I don't mean gross like gross, but I mean like the pure sense of that word, which is it's there, it's base, it's raw, it's in our face, we can see it at all times. And so we're not only feeling our own stress, we're feeling the stress of what's happening in the government, what's happening across town, what's happening with our friends. I just we were mandatory evacuation from this fire that happened in California, and so many people around the world were messaging me, are you okay? We saw what's going on. We're now dealing with this global stress and the social media and this go, go, go quickness of what's happening in the world. And I think that's going to be a huge challenge. I don't see it resolving anytime soon, because the generation that grew up with it, the bottom level of those millennials who this is just their world, they've not adapted to the stress. I think they're more used to it. But for people like you and me, who I still remember, when the big exciting technology was call waiting with the phone that was still attached to the wall with the cord, that was my technology.
Mhm.
Where you had the nightly news and that was it, or the morning news. This is a big change for us, and our psyches didn't have time to adapt to what's happening technologically. And I think that's a big challenge right now. And I'm seeing more and more people depressed, anxious, just have this general malaise. People are feeling pretty bad, and I think that input from global sources, I think that's a big cause of it.
Right. So tell me a little bit about the best advice through the years and all the people you've went to from Harvard to being an actor school. Tell us a little bit about the best advice you've ever received.
Oh, wow. Okay. Boy, that's a really tough one. I think it's got to be that presence. I've done a lot of programs with Eckhart Tolle. I've not had a chance to study with him in person, but I've read his books. I do his videos and his CDs and all that stuff. And you know, we do really get trapped in this ego of thought, and we think we are our thoughts. And that is such a trap, and it's so dangerous because our thoughts, like I said, they can go off to some future and it's completely not true. And all we have is this moment. And so any of those teachers, whether it's Thich Nhat Hanh, who I studied with at Harvard, Jon Kabat-Zinn, Herbert Benson, all these amazing minds at Harvard who try to pull us all back to the present moment, no matter how you phrase it, has to be that has to be the starting point. And I struggle with it too, and I'm trying really hard to make 2018 the year of presence for me, where I stop, the past doesn't bother me. It's the future that I'm always thinking towards, and that's a dangerous place to be because I'm missing the now.
Right. Yeah, and for those who haven't read The Power of Now, actually, from Eckhart Tolle, I think that's a very good book to start with, and really puts it in perspective. And he's got a great way of saying things. So, tell me a little bit about what you want to share with our listeners that you haven't shared yet, because I haven't asked a question, or that you'd like to make sure that the listeners know about you, or we're going to give you a moment. In a moment, we can give you the chance to tell them about your website and how to contact you. But tell us a little bit about you or about your work, about what you'd like to share. This is your moment to do whatever.
Yeah, my moment to do whatever. I don't have my
Yes.
trapeze in here. It goes back to the going for it, and I really encourage you all to watch my TEDx, which is up on my website, because it talks about not only presence and staying in this moment and mindfulness, but it also talks about taking chances and going for it, which I think is also really important. I want to share my mini meditation because it's my favorite modality. I learned this at Harvard when I was studying with Herbert Benson. I'm a terrible meditator. I'm very type A. East Coast, walk fast, talk fast, tell me to sit on a pillow and stop my body. Nope, dancer, not going to do it. But I learned the mini meditation, and if I can do it, any of you can do it. And it's as simple as concentrating on your breath and really paying attention to that rise and fall of the chest. And on the inhale, you think, I am. And on the exhale, you think, at peace. And you just keep repeating that over and over again. I am at peace. And when other thoughts intrude, not if, because they will, when other thoughts intrude, you just miss them without judgment. Say, oh, I was thinking, okay. And you return to the breath and the I am at peace. And I gotta say, this has saved me. I do this multiple times a day, and it has become the gateway drug, for lack of a better word, to lead me to formal seated meditation, because it gave me the right tools in the right order to really calm my mind and to let those other thoughts go and not beat myself up of I'm doing it wrong and this is hard. So the mini meditation, I'd love to share that with you guys. So that's my little gift to you guys, is trying that mini meditation.
Okay, well, I appreciate that. And now tell the audience now a little bit about where they can go. I know they can search out your name because it came up very easily for me when I Googled you, but tell them if you can give them the specifics of your website or where you'd like them to go to learn more about you.
Yeah, absolutely. So I've got two sites. KathyGruver.com is really my speaking website, because I do go all around the world and I help people with their stress using those practical tools that I talked about that started out for the military. So KathyGruver.com is how to learn more about my programs. My books are there. My TEDx talks on the homepage. And then there's thealternativeMedicineCabinet.com. And there's more for the general public. There's a lot of resources, a lot of past interviews and articles and really good things like that. Also, my books are there too. Both places have links to my YouTube channel where you can see not only health videos, but also trapeze videos and fun stuff like that. Some of my past talks are there as well. And yeah, just check it out. And if I can help in any way, let me know. I can do stress reduction stuff and hypnosis over Skype or Zoom, and definitely here live and in person in lovely Santa Barbara, now that we're not on fire.
Yeah. That's a great area. I know that been out there. I used to live in Northern California till my grandkids were born, and my wife decided she was moving to New Bern, North Carolina, and said, if you'd like to visit me, you can come there. So so I'm here. It's a little different than San Francisco, but we love it. The weather's a little different. I lived in Virginia Beach for 12 years and things of that. So I really appreciate you spending your time with us, enlightening our audience about what you do and how you do it. We're always looking for cutting edge people out there who are sharing with the world about how to improve their life, especially in the areas of stress and brain health. So thanks again for being there. Thanks again for helping us to change the world one person at a time. So in closing, anything else that's come to mind now? This is your last chance. We're going to close out the podcast and move on.
Just go for it. Take one thing today and try something new, whether it's a different route to work or a different lunch place or a different meal or a different thought. Just try something new, go for it, get out of your comfort zone and take a risk today.
There you are. Thanks again for being on the radio show, and we look forward to doing more with you in the future. So thank you.
Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
This show has been produced by Market Domination, LLC. To discover how you can have your own show completely done for you and turn it into a real published book and become the authority in your marketplace, go to www.marketdominationllc.com/podcast offer.